As far as the state of California is concerned, the Whaley House is haunted. It has actually been designated by the California state government as haunted. In 1956, the 103-year-old building was on the verge of demolition, but $80,000 later, it was saved by the Historical Shrine Foundation that persuaded the County Board of Supervisors to purchase the soon-to-be ruins. This was in 1960. Thomas Whaley built his home in 1857, and it remained in the Whaley family for over 96 years. The last family member to reside in it, Lillian Whaley, died in 1953. On August 17, 1852, Yankee Jim Robinson was caught, tried, and found guilty of grand larceny and was sentenced by a jury to be hanged. Grand larceny is the theft of personal property having the value above a legal specified amount. Clearly, this trial was unfairly prejudiced towards Robinson. Two of his accomplices were each only sentenced to be jailed for 1 year. This whole thing was over a stolen boat. When he was arrested, Yankee Jim did not go quietly, and they finally caught him by lasso. I bring this up because legend has it that on September 18th, Robinson was hanged on the very spot where the Whaley House now stands, that even Thomas Whaley himself was there as witness. The legend continues that Yankee Jim placed a curse on the grounds where he was hanged.
So, California designated the Whaley House as one of the most haunted places. The only other place that's actually legally designated as haunted is the Winchester Mystery House?
Yes.
Ministry House.
Same
Mystery
thing.
House. So that's crazy. These are the only two places that California has listed as haunted. But I mean, with all those people that have died in the Whaley House, I mean, it's to be expected, obviously.
Yeah, I would think so. Since the 1850s, the Whaley House has served as a residence, theater, boarding house, a place for receptions and balls, and a courthouse. The house was built by a man named Thomas Whaley at the cost of over $10,000 in 1857. Thomas Whaley Jr. was born on October 5, 1823 in New York City to Thomas Alexander Whaley Sr. and Rachel Pye. He was the seventh of 10 children. The Whaley family had been prominent in local and national affairs. He received the finest education and even traveled to Europe to continue his studies for 2 years. Upon return in 1846, he managed his late father's business affairs and rental properties for his mother. He later began a new career involving working for the Sutton and Company shipbuilding firm. In 1848, the discovery of gold in California piqued his interest, and rumors of newly proposed line of government steamships to California interested the firm. The firm wanted to expand the operation to the West Coast with an office in San Francisco. He was offered a ticket and the possibility of a partnership in the firm if he went, and so he did. He prospered in San Francisco and even took on other ventures. But on the 3rd and 4th of May in 1851, a fire hit San Francisco, turning the settled areas and buildings into ash. Over 1,000 buildings were destroyed. His savings gone, he decided to seek his fortune in San Diego. He arrived in San Diego on October 4th. He and his business partner, Louis Franklin, started their store Tienda General in the old Spanish town consisting of about 300 inhabitants. It began to prosper, and Whaley even began to learn Spanish so he could do business with the local people. Whaley parted ways with Franklin and became partners with Franklin Hinton.
So when was your first time at the Whaley House?
I went when I was a teenager, and I just went just to look at the house. I didn't know a lot about it, but then finally when I got a little bit older, I went with my brother, and he was interested in ghost stuff. We used to watch ghost shows all the time together, so this was our first time to go ghost hunting. I was really upset because one person who was in the group that I was in actually felt something.
Oh, really?
And I think my brother was upset too, because we were there. I think my parents said that they sat outside the place for hours because we just kept click, 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 click pictures because we wanted to catch something because we were really into it. But they said that besides people haunting the Whaley House, animals
haunt the Whaley House?
Supposedly there is a dog, and I believe the dog was named Dolly Madison. Yeah, Dolly Madison. And people have felt at their feet like a dog or a cat walking by. And somebody in our group had that happen. They're like, oh my God. And they didn't know what it was, and they said they felt that. So that happened. So I was upset about that. I mean, who wouldn't want to have like a ghost dog, right?
I don't want any ghosts.
In mid-1853, Thomas decided to go back east to propose to the woman he left behind. Thomas married Anna Eloise Delaunay in New York on August 14, 1853. In 1854, Thomas bought 9 lots in San Diego for $302. In 1855, he and George Tebbets purchased 2 horsepower brick-making machines. One was used near Old Town and the other near the beach, making the shipping of bricks easier. The Whaleys were living well. Also in 1855, Whaley purchased Lot 1 of Block 480 in San Diego from the city of San Diego. Tebbets sold his brick manufacturing business to Whaley, and he continued to operate it alone. The dining room right next to the outdoor kitchen, where they were telling the story about how a young girl, had died by mistakenly drinking something that was poison. And people have said, for people who have talked about the hauntings, have said that this little girl is looking for her mom, which is so sad.
That is really sad.
It's really sad. And so she sometimes comes up to women and holds their hand. In September 1856, Whaley began building his 2-story Greek Revival residence. The bricks that were used were made in Whaley's brickyard. The building was to be a home and a store and was completed on August 22, 1857. And in September that same year, the store was opened on the lower level of the house. He soon realized that the store was too far from the plaza, where the social and economic center was for Old Town. He moved his business in another storefront that was closer to the plaza. One of the first, but not the last, tragedy hit the Whaley family. Their second son, Thomas Jr., died from scarlet fever. The loss was tempered, though, by the birth of Anna Amelia Whaley. She was born in the Whaley House on January 23, 1858. In August of the same year, Thomas's store caught fire and burned to the ground. Arson was suspected. Whaley's investments also took a turn. He could only rent out a portion of his house for $40 per month, and there were a lot of people who owed him money, and he was unable to collect. Because of this, Thomas and Anna decided to move away from the house and spend some time in San Francisco. They turned over their affairs to Frank Ames, a Wells Fargo agent. While away, they were kept informed about their holdings and businesses. Over the couple of years that they were away, they were told about the deterioration of the house, as well as the damages that occurred due to an earthquake that hit San Diego. He leased out the second floor of his house to Thomas W. Tanner for $20 in gold coins, and it was to be used for theatrical productions. The Tanner troupe operated out of the upstairs bedroom, where there was a small stage and seating for up to 150 people. Unfortunately, Thomas Tanner died within 17 days of the opening.
My first time at the Whaley House, back when I went, you weren't allowed to take pictures.
Yeah.
They wouldn't allow you to take pictures or video, none of that stuff. And so me being
You.
me, I was in the theater, and I brought out the phone to start filming. And I was so excited because it was my first iPhone. It was the iPhone 4. And I was, trying to film in the house, in that theater. And all of a sudden my phone completely wigged out and just stopped working. And as I left, I realized that my phone cover, I had a Doctor Who TARDIS phone cover. The part around the camera lens was completely bent and broken on my phone cover. Yeah, so I don't know if that was the little dog or what, but
I'm thinking Tanner.
it must have been Tanner.
Because you didn't pay.
Respect the theater.
You didn't
and
pay.
I didn't pay.
So, yeah, that's probably what it
that
was.
That makes perfect sense.
In August 1869, the County of San Diego signed a 2-year lease for the courtroom in the Whaley House, giving Whaley $65 a month for its use. The lease permitted the court to use the big room and 3 upstairs rooms for storage of their records. The room also functioned as a location for political meetings, a billiard room, a dairy, kindergarten, Sunday school, store, and residence. On October 14, 1862, Violet Eloise Whaley was born, and on September 4, 1864, Corinne Lillian Whaley arrived. In 1867, Anna and the children returned to San Diego. Anna spent her time with the remodeling of the house and repairing the damages from the earthquake. It was warm, comfortable, and inviting. On April 12, 1883, Violet Whaley was granted a divorce from her husband after only 1 year and 3 months of marriage. Violet found out that her husband, that she thought she knew, was a con artist and had several aliases, and had married her to secure some of the Whaley fortune. They had only been married for 2 weeks when he left in the middle of the night and was never heard from again. This was a humiliation for her, as well as for her reputation. The betrayal sunk poor Violet into a deep depression, one that seemed she was unable to dig herself out of. She returned to her maiden name and lived with her family once more. In the early morning of August 18, 1885, normally under constant supervision, Violet exited the house and walked to the outhouse, where she shot herself with Mr. Whaley's gun. Mr. Whaley had been looking for Violet when he heard the shot, and he ran outside to find her still alive. He swooped her up and laid her down on the lounge in the parlor. She remained alive for another 10 to 15 minutes and then passed away. A note was found on the back porch. It read, "Mad from life's history, swift to death mystery, glad to be hurled, anywhere, out of this world. But let the curtain be drawn, she is gone to meet her God. He shall judge the tired spirit, hastened to its creator."
When you were taking pictures of where Violet died, the chair where Violet died, the pictures you took had a lot of weird, I don't know if it was dust, but there was something.
It was dust, but it really looked like a lot of orbs, kind of
because
moving,
out of all the places,
flying, like a party.
Yeah.
It was so many.
Because of all the places, that was the only room where that was happening.
Yeah, that was.
All the pictures that we took, nothing came about.
Nothing.
But each time you took a picture of that chair, it was just dust.
Yeah.
Or whatever that was. And then you finally, I think it was the 4th or 5th picture, it was a normal picture.
It was a normal picture.
You'll see, we'll play it, but for me, so there's that arch, we'll talk about more. There's an arch in the house where the supposed tree was, where Yankee Jim Robinson was hung. And I was told, I was asked by the tour guy who's normally there, asked, say, do you feel anything? Because most of the time men feel something. And me just being a smart ass, I'm like, I feel you intimidating me. You know, I thought it was being funny. But the thing is I actually felt something around my neck. Like I felt this terrible, terrible pressure around my neck. And it wasn't until I left the room that it stopped. So I'm standing on the spot where the guy was hung, and I'm feeling like this terrible feeling on my neck. This is freaking me out. Oh.
Also goes into more of Yankee Jim's story and his botched hanging. Botched hanging. So this gentleman was walking underneath the archway, and he seemed to gasp, and he started to struggle like something was twisting around his neck.
Oh.
He was pulled from the archway as he was turning purple. He didn't know the history of the house, and he didn't know that the archway was built on the exact site of the scaffold where Yankee Jim was hanged.
Okay. Oof.
So this goes into Yankee Jim and about his crime in 1852 for stealing the rowboat.
Right, stealing a boat.
Because that's what happens when you steal a boat. It was a botched job from the start. A drunken hangman had failed to measure Jim's legs, and instead of quickly breaking his neck, Jim slowly, painfully strangled to death. So it's also said that Yankee Jim was very tall, like taller than most people at that time.
God.
So if I were going to do any cursing,
Yeah, that would do it.
That would do it.
Oh my God.
That would do it. In November of 1885, Thomas Whaley began construction of a one-story framed house on his property near the junction of E and State Streets in San Diego. This house would become the family's residence for many years. On December 31st, 1888, Francis Hinton Whaley married Susan E. Murray, and in November 1889, a baby girl was born. On December 14, 1890, Thomas Whaley died at the age of 67 at 933 State Street, San Diego. On December 18, 1905, Thomas's daughter Anna Amelia died at the age of 47 from cancer in Modesto, California. In 1909, Francis Whaley lived in the house and began restoring the building that had remained vacant for several years. During 1912, the remaining family lived in the restored house. On February 24, 1913, Anna Whaley passed away in her house at the age of 80. On November 19, 1914, Francis Whaley passed away in the house, and the funeral was held there. On January 5, 1928, George Whaley passed away, leaving his sister Lillian alone to live in the house. In 1935, Lillian was admitted to a nursing home due to ill health. On August 10, 1953, the Whaley house was under court order to be sold to pay for the care of Lillian. It was up for sale when local activists clamored to save the Whaley house from future demolition. Lillian passed away on September 14, 1953.
It starts with Yankee Jim Robinson dying.
Mm-hmm.
Then the Whaley house is built. The family's living there.
Mm-hmm.
Their firstborn son is dead. He dies. Second-born son is dead.
Mm-hmm.
And then after that, the theater owner dies.
Yes.
Then Lillian Whaley, distraught over being...
Not Lillian. Violet.
No, Violet shoots herself after being severely depressed.
Yes.
And then more family members die in the house. But
Yes.
Not Thomas Whaley. Thomas Whaley dies...
He died in the other house that
in
they
the
were
other house.
living in. Anna Whaley died in the Whaley house.
In there as well.
And then the other children, the other sons and daughters passed away.
Right. That's a lot of dead people
It's
in
a
one
lot
house.
of dead people in a house. Yeah. As far as the state of California is concerned, the Whaley house is haunted and is designated by the California state government as haunted. Many people come to learn about the Whaley house, as well as the early beginnings of San Diego. Many of these same people leave this house with more than just newly acquired knowledge.
Bye.